Hello and welcome to my December wrap-up. I am so sorry as to how quiet I have been. I have been a mole in a hole that's not surfaced for a while. It turned out that Christmas and the lead up to Christmas was a lot busier than I was expecting. My son, my daughter, me, my husband, we all got really sick right before Christmas, and it all just... Oh, do you know what? Having a toddler, just never-ending viruses, isn't it? I didn't read as much as I was planning, and I didn't get on with this theme at all. I love Christmas, but it turns out I don't like Christmas-themed books, so that was a thing, and... oh well. I'm just gonna dive on into my thoughts on the books. Spoilers as always, because I can't talk about book without ruining the plot. I hope everyone had a really lovely Christmas and you got all the presents that you wanted, or that you were contented to open and thought was okay and you won't take back to the shop secretly behind the person's back. I hope you had lovely Christmas dinners and you ate lots of cheese and enjoyed the weird period between Christmas and New Year where you were full of wine, cheese and feeling a bit confused about life. I hope no one got really sick like us. I hope everyone had a lovely time. I read 1, 2, 3, 3.5 books in December. Oh, it's disgraceful, isn't it? So I'm just going to talk about the main 3 and the half, which I have actually DNF'd now. So that is 3 books and a DNF, basically. So the first book that I read was A Breath of Snow and Ashes by Diana Gabaldon. As I have spoken about in the past, her books are very long-winded, and this one was no stranger to that theme. It ended up being 1,400 pages long. It took me a really long time to finish. I think that's what took the bulk of my December. I really, really, really enjoyed it though. It was the best one I've read for a while. I mean, I've enjoyed the last 3. I wasn't actually a fan of the first 2 that much, to be honest, but the ones from when she came back from the future back to the past, I've actually really enjoyed. Quick thoughts. It was one of my favourite Outlander books so far, except maybe Voyager, which is the 3rd one. I really enjoyed that one as well. As Diana Gabaldon is famous for, these books are slow paced. They aren't for someone who wants instant action plot all in one go. She information dumps. She takes her time. Everything is slow and steady, and that is what someone who enjoys reading her books is after. We're not after everything to be edited out. We want all the details. We want Claire doing her medical surgeries. We want details of sort of the frontier lifestyle that they're leading. We want details about how it all links in with history. I really enjoy that style of writing, and it has taken me a couple of years to warm up to it. I won't lie, because obviously when you dive into one of these books, you are in for a long haul. But I think that means it's even more satisfying because it kind of feels like a companion, and I can quite easily read 100 or so pages of an Outlander book a day because I'm just so engrossed in the writing style and I just really enjoy how it pans out. That being said, it is misery porn. She's famous for writing the most outrageous things to her poor characters. I wouldn't say that anyone gets out scot-free on any of her books. Everyone suffers. In particular, book 6, Breath of Snow and Ashes, is Claire's misery porn. I mean, not to be said that Claire's had a hard time throughout all of this. Like, things have happened to Claire and it's been hard work and she's had to deal with a lot. However, in this one, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know what happens in this book, please skip ahead to the next bit, where she gets raped, she gets kidnapped, she gets tortured, she gets thrown into prison, she has a weird man fall in love with her, she gets accused of murder, she ends up a hostage on a boat, it's never ending. I actually cried quite a few times with this one. There was a particular scene where Claire was really ill and Roger said that she still looks beautiful and my heart broke. and I cried like a baby. I actually ended up liking Roger and Brianna more in this one than previous ones. Roger is a bit of a funny character because sometimes he just comes across just absolutely sweet and kind and genuine, and other times he comes across like he's got a bit of small man syndrome, so he's tried to be all macho and he isn't. I actually find that one of the things I don't like about the TV series is in the book Roger is a real man's man, and he is very manly, and in the TV series he's a little bit soft, but in the book he's not. He's tall, he's hulking, and he fights, and you know, it all comes across that he fits into the time period. As always, I feel completely heartbroken about Roger's voice and him having lost his voice. But I mean, he's overcome it. He's found an occupation that suited him. And yeah, I think he really came into his own. And I think Brianna did too. She's overcome quite a lot. And I think that I think some people think that she's a bit of a Mary Sue character in terms of that she can do no wrong, she's just perfect, but she's just like her mum in terms of like she goes in all you know, like a bull in a china shop, and she just boom, and it rubs people up the wrong way. But I like her. I think she's a good character. I think one of the most endearing things about Outlander in general is that there is a really good romance at the heart of it. And I know that Jamie and Claire at this point are in their 50s. It's more of an older romance, but in terms of love and connection, there isn't anything that Jamie Fraser won't do for Claire. I think all of us want a man like that in our lives. Like, he is a man of his time. He is passionate, he is headstrong, he is stubborn, but at the same time the love and the passion that goes into what he does is just, I don't think I've read a modern romance, at least recently, where a modern man satisfies that many, I don't know, primeval urges in a person. It's not about it being smutty or about enjoying sex scenes, because it's less of a thing now. It's more of about the heart of the story. But Jamie Fraser and Claire have a timeless romance, which I think is beautiful, and one of the best things about the TV series. And I really think that the actors that they've chosen for that are just sublime. They do the romance so well. I will be reading the next ones this year, so you will be coming back to Claire and Jamie. I actually really liked the fact that Christie fell in love with Claire. John Christie was a troubled character, and I think the fact that he fell in love with Claire and he defended her and he took the fall for her was amazing, and I found it really plausible and I liked it. One of the thoughts I've written here is that I find myself kicking myself quite regularly that I didn't read these books sooner, and I mean, they were written ages ago originally, and I've never picked them up. And I think, where was the librarian when I was a kid? She could have recommended this to me. I would have devoured these when I was a kid. That's my thoughts on A Breath of Snow and Ashes. I highly recommend it. I mean, you'd have to go back to square one. You'd have to go to the original Outlander series and read it from there, because none of it would make sense if you picked it up individually. I don't think any of the Outlander novels are standalone, and you have to be having a passion and love for slow, plodding, long-winded romance. That being said, it's beautiful. There's a lot of historical information plumped in. There's a lot of characters. It isn't something that you can rush. It isn't something that you're going to have instant action over. It's something you have to take your time with, and therefore that's where the enjoyment is that you take your time with it. And maybe that's why I took my time with it, because I wanted to enjoy it. There's a lot to be said about reading lots of books and having a high book count, but I think as the year came on for 2022, for me, I kind of felt like I had done my time with reading lots and lots, and I just wanted to enjoy what I was reading. One of the main things that I just took my time over it, and therefore, you know, got lots of positive things to say. So I read 2 Christmas themed books in December. They were The Christmas Postcards by Swan and The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan. I didn't like this theme. I think it might have been the 2 books I chose. I don't know. But if I was to choose my favourite out of the 2, it would be The Christmas Postcards by Swan. So I'll talk about that one first. It followed the story of a lady called Natasha and her child who lost a cuddly toy cow and a gentleman called Duffy. It followed two lines of story. So you had the past, which was 2018, you had the present, and how it all interconnected. It was very obvious, spoiler alert, that Duffy was the gentleman in question in the past, Mike, and therefore it all tied together very nicely. It was incredibly cliche, light-hearted, but I enjoyed it. The plot was a little bit predictable in places. I mean, there was one curveball, which I won't say because I feel like if you're going to read it, then you'll want to have a bit of a surprise at least. And there were a few surprises, but it was pleasant enough. I found the latter part of the book where Duffy was in the Nepalese mountains and he was climbing the mountains. I found that bit the most engaging because obviously then it became a bit more of a thriller, like what was going to happen, was he going to be okay, you know, all of these things. I found the plot points about Natasha's husband a bit weird. I don't know if it was even necessary to the story. It felt a bit convenient. Then that was what happened. In fact, it was so convenient, it was kind of painful. But I mean, if you're going to read a Christmas story that has at least some engagement to it, then I highly recommend it. Did it have anything to do with Christmas? Not really, other than the date. I don't think it was really that Christmas themed, but it just sort of coincided with that time of the year. Although, why on earth someone would go trekking up mountains in winter makes 0 sense. So the next one that I read was The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan, and I must say I did struggle with this one. It really didn't float my boat. I would say that maybe it was about 2/3 way through by the time I kind of got into it, and even then it was a bit of a struggle. I didn't really engage with the characters. I really struggle with plot points that are about reconciliation between characters that have 0 reconciliation. The main premise is that there were 2 sisters called Carmen and Sophia. Carmen was like the wild child younger sister who didn't go to university and worked in a shop. And that felt weird because if you have a lawyer older sister, I didn't understand why you would be so resistant to achieving but resenting your sister at the same time and then just work in a department shop. It didn't make any sense. Sophia is, I would call her a crunchy mum, maybe? It felt kind of crunchy. She's all organic and kids can't eat sweets, and she's got a nanny who is all la la la, and we'll do Tai Chi and yoga and meditate and stuff like that. The reconciliation between Carmen and Sophia wasn't well executed, I didn't feel, because Carmen and Sophia were locked horns. They didn't have, it just didn't work. And obviously the reason that they reconciled was because Carmen then eventually found love for her children. But I did think it was a bit forced, like about how she was moaning that Carmen didn't love her children. I mean, you can't force someone to love your children. That's on them. Like, if she doesn't, then you can't resent them for it if they don't love your children. I have 2 children. I wouldn't force anyone to love them, you know. If they do, that's great, but I wouldn't get resentful and moan to my mum if they didn't like my child. Like, it's just one of those things. Main plot point, as a result, Carmen's department shop gets shut, so she ends up having to move in with her sister, and so her sister puts her in the basement, which I thought was a bit weird. Like, she has a guest bedroom in a fancy house and she puts her sister in the basement. Carmen obviously then helps out with the children. She also ends up helping out with a bookshop in the old part of Edinburgh. It's not really a bookshop, it's just a building that has books in it, because the main owner of it, Mr. Macready, I believe his name was, he basically is not a very good bookseller, and as a result he is going bankrupt, and Sophia puts Carmen in there to help turn it around, or just to give her sister something to do until basically Mr. Macready sort of sells up and moves on. As a result, Carmen kind of takes it on herself and does, do up the bookshop and helps to make it successful, at least for a period of time. One of the ways she did this was by having a famous author called Blair come and visit. I didn't like him. I didn't understand the appeal of him. He was a weird man-child who couldn't look after himself. I didn't see what was remotely appealing about him, and I don't think Carmen did either. And I didn't understand why she got upset that she didn't sleep with him, because I didn't see the appeal on that one either. At the same time, the Brazilian tree professor called Oak, wasn't feeling that either. I mean, I didn't see that they had a particularly decent connection there either. And then running around in the rain and the snow looking for each other. Oh, no. Would I read any more Jenny Colgan based on this book? Probably not. Have I read her before? I think I have, but her writing style just isn't my kind of thing. It's not a criticism. I'm sure there's people out there that absolutely love it, but sometimes I find that cliche, cutesy books just don't quite satisfy me, and it's weird because I am in some respects quite a fussy reader. If you're going to do this, then have a successful romance or have a successful reconciliation between your sisters. You can't just have a middle ground between all of them not really having, much to work with other than a baby being born. And I don't know if that was a metaphor for Jesus. Maybe it was. I don't know. But it just didn't do it for me. So both of those Christmas books, I gave 3 stars. That's all I've got to say about them, really. Would I recommend them? Probably not. I mean, out of the 2, maybe Christmas Postcards, but yeah. So the next one I read was The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. This was on my TBR. I was really looking forward to reading this one. I was a bit devastated that I didn't enjoy it, and I actually ended up DNFing at 31%. Now, I think the main thing that really disappointed me about this was that ordinarily I think I would have really enjoyed this book. It had all of the elements that an LJ book should have. It had a slow plot, it was cutesy, it was all character building. There was just something about the writing of this book that just didn't work for me, and I think someone else would really enjoy it, but it was so dry. The premise was it's in Alaska, 1920s, Jack and Mabel, and they are homesteading in Alaska. They're really struggling. It's not working for them, but Mabel has decided that she needs to run away from her life in Pennsylvania because she is infertile and cannot have children, and therefore is running away from her problems. Jack has kind of just gone along with it, but he's feeling guilty about the fact that he can't actually provide in this environment, and he's older and he's struggling with the farming aspects. And one day they build a snowman and it turns into a child that's feral and runs around. I just got bored. I got really bored. I don't know, I kind of got to that stage where I'd already taken forever to read 3 books in December, and I'm having a particularly dry January, and therefore I kind of just said to myself, should I be reading this anymore? Is it doing anything for me? And it wasn't. It was like a torture to read 10 pages. And that being said, I just couldn't actually sit down any longer and say, yeah, let's carry on doing this, because it wasn't for me. And I think maybe if I was in a different mood, maybe I'd enjoy it more. It's not a criticism of the book in general. I think, you know, someone else, a different mood, you know, I think there's a lot to be said about mood reading and being in the right kind of mood for a book, because ordinarily I think I would have really enjoyed this, but maybe just the time in my life that I decided to read it, it just didn't do anything for me, and I was really sad about it because I'd been looking forward to it. So I DNF'd at 31%, and I can't rate it because I didn't finish it. I don't know if it got better, but I kind of just got to that stage where there's too many books in the world to agonise over one. In conclusion to my December wrap up, I think that one of the things that I'm struggling with, and it has slowed down my reading exponentially, is TBRs, and they don't suit me. I'm finding it restrictive, unenjoyable. I am an unashamed mood reader, so I'm going to have to rethink on how I produce content for this channel, because I can't reliably do a TBR. So I'm going to have to just do regular updates through the month as to what I'm picking up, and do it that way, because I can't limit myself to a list. It just makes me feel counterproductive, because I then feel that I'm not in the mood for whatever I've chosen. I don't know how I'm going to do about themes and whatever, and I'm having to find my stride and work within the parameters that I'm given. I work, I have children, I'm having to sort of find my niche here. There's lots of disappointment this month is that I don't like Christmas fluffy books, and I'm finding TBRs restrictive. I'm going to give it a couple of months and see. I mean, this month, January, I'm already stinking it up. I'm just going to mood read for January. Hopefully I can pick myself back up again and once I get into the swing of things. I've taken on a few new challenges that I am going to be, more active. I'm trying to lose weight because my child is 2. I have to lose weight now at this point. I've been sort of thinking about long-term future as to how to make my life more successful. And burying my head in the sand isn't something that I can do forever. This channel will grow as I grow and my reading changes. I've got a few video ideas coming up, end of year wrap ups. I have some ideas, so that'll probably be my January posting, will be about 2022, and then I'll get more into things as I go along. So I'll probably be a bit more behind everyone else, but I'm just going to take my time with it. I'm really pleased anyone that's watching these videos and enjoys them. I mean, please let me know what you do and don't like. I've had a lot of criticism from various friends and family about the level of swearing, so I'm trying to tone that down and be a bit more calmer and less aggressive. I think maybe might be my plan for the new year. Thank you very much for watching my December wrap up, and if you've read any of these books and you agree with me or don't agree with me, please let me know. That would be really interesting. Please check out my Instagram channel. I am tentatively keeping that up to date as well, and thank you very much for joining me this evening. Thank you. Bye bye.